Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming to our webinar. This will be a very special one, the last one of the year with Adrienne Hill. Everyone is welcome, and all of our webinars are free. However, as you know, we have some expenses. So if you can, please donate to help us. Any amount is useful. Just go to our webpage, RockyMountainAtheist.ca, and you find the donate button. Okay. A few messages before we start. We are an inclusive community of atheists, humanists, skeptics, secular free thinkers. We welcome everyone to our webinars. We have never had any disruptive attendees, and please let's keep this record going. At the end of the presentation, we will have a Q&A. So you just use the Zoom's hand raising, and we'll call you when the speaker is ready to answer the question, and please keep the questions on topic. Quick disclaimer, the views and opinions expressed by the speakers and audience members during the event are their own, and they do not reflect the official policies, positions, or views of our organization. Our guest speaker tonight is Adrienne Hill. She's a teacher, skeptic activist, speaker, Wikipedia editor, writer, researcher, and podcaster. It's a lot. And she'll be talking to us about the law of attraction, lunacy, and OCD ordeals. So I'll stop sharing now so Adrienne can start her presentation.
You bet. Oh, apparently I have to accept the recording thing before I can see things. Okay. All right. I will hopefully, and you will interrupt if things start going wrong, hopefully.
Oh, yes.
Okay, excellent. So you can see that, okay? Everyone can see the yes. Main slide. Excellent. So thank you. Oh, hold on. I got to move everybody because they're overlapping my notes. You guys can go over there. There we go. So I'm so happy to be invited. So thank you so much. This is something very close to my heart and was actually inspired. This talk was inspired by Jonathan Stea, who apparently was last June, I think, is what you said, Leo. And it might seem kind of strange that I'm going to be talking about obsessive compulsive disorder and the law of attraction, or LOA. And I will bring the two together. Don't worry about it. But I'm going to first start with talking about OCD and what that is, and then law of attraction, and bring it together in the end, at the very end of my talk. And let's make sure we can move forward. So Elio kind of told you who I am. I'm a retired high school mathematics teacher. I also am a Guerilla Skepticism on Wikipedia editor. I'm a board member of Susan Gerbic's About Time nonprofit organization, Skeptic Zone reporter, and I've written for AIPT Comics, The Skeptic Australia, and Skeptical Inquirer. And my favorite is I'm a wannabe photographer, capturing one blurry bird picture at a time. And I'm still learning how not to do blurry pictures. Now, why would I be qualified to actually talk about obsessive compulsive disorder? I am not a psychologist, I'm a teacher, but I actually have been a presenter regarding Tourette syndrome, OCD, and ADHD since 2005. I was a volunteer for Tourette Canada, and since 2018, I am a board member and speaker for the Tourette OCD Alberta Network, as well as an educational consultant. And so I've worked with experts in these fields, even though I am not the expert. I use their material. So anything that's in here, I usually look up pretty carefully, but I can be wrong. I am not a psychologist, and I want to make sure everyone is aware of that. So let's now take a brief look at obsessive compulsive disorder. What's really interesting is when I started doing presentations to community members and classrooms in 2005, I would always ask, how many people have heard of OCD or obsessive compulsive disorder? And almost nobody would ever put their hand up. People were not aware of this in that year. Since then, it's changed. Almost everybody has heard of it. They may not understand what it actually is, but they've certainly heard about it. And hopefully I'm going to get rid of some myths today. So what is it? Well, it has two components to it. And the two components, the first one is obsessions. So unwanted thoughts and fears, and they're known as obsessions. Things like, did I lock the front door? Did I leave the burner on my stove on? Those are common for everybody. However, with someone with OCD, these thoughts overtake their thinking. So no other thoughts can occur. It's like a song getting stuck in your head, but it's a whole lot worse. And this part of the disorder is hidden and can make people around you think you're refusing to work, you're lazy, because the person's just sitting there, but really they're stuck with their thought. And they're frozen by fear. And these obsessions can lead to what's called a compulsion, which are repetitive actions that are done to alleviate those anxieties, such as, I will check the lock. Well, we all do that. Did I lock the door? I'm going to go check the lock. And then you might go, I can't remember if I checked the lock. And that's okay. That's not the disorder. However, somebody with OCD might need to do it 50 times, 100 times, 300 times. It's excessive, and it really interferes with their life. So that's just a very brief outline. I'm going to quiz everybody. I like things to be a little bit interactive, even when it's online and I can't see everybody. So what I'd like you to do is just kind of think of the answers, write them down if you want. Let's see how well you know about this. Some of them are going to be really easy and kind of fun, and others might surprise you. So let's see how you do. First one, question 1. People diagnosed with OCD, A, are always neat freaks. B, are always afraid of germs. C, always have a visible compulsion. D, all of the above. Or E, none of the above. So what do you think? It's actually none of the above. And the key word here is always. Not everybody with OCD are neat freaks. My kids have been diagnosed with OCD and they are not neat freaks, and I wish they were. My kids also did not have the fear of germs. And I'm really glad they didn't have that one because it can be very complex and very difficult to treat. So what is that word always is a big thing. Everybody's different. And it's a huge myth that everybody is a neat freak and are afraid of germs. And one of the common phrases you hear people saying is, oh, I'm so OCD. And they're just neat, or they're a little bit of afraid of germs. They do not have the disorder, most likely. Question 2, which of the following statements is not true about obsessive compulsive disorder? A, OCD affects only adults and is rarely seen in children or adolescents. B, people with OCD have recurrent, unwanted, intrusive, and persistent thoughts that are difficult to control. C, people with OCD often repeat actions to alleviate their thoughts, such as rearranging items, checking if the stove is turned off, or evening things up. My guess is you should get that based on what I've already talked about. And
A.
it is A, exactly.
Hey, I got it right.
Hey.
Woo! Yeah.
So, according to the Alberta Health website, the average age of diagnosis is around 19. So in the teenage years, all the way to young adulthood. The greatest risk of developing OCD is from childhood to middle adulthood. And my kids were all diagnosed with it as pretty young. My youngest was originally diagnosed at age 4, though that was an iffy diagnosis, in my opinion. It was a little premature. However, based on our previous kids, it wasn't that unrealistic. So, question 2.5. Those of you who are perfectionists that won't like this very much, I'm sorry it's not question 3. I decided to add this after the fact today, and I didn't want to re-number everything. So hopefully this will be okay for most of you. So OCD is diagnosed only if A, it should never be diagnosed. Everyone gets a song or thought stuck in their heads, which means everyone has OCD. Therefore, it is normal and not a disorder. B, the symptoms significantly impact a person's daily life. And C, the psychiatrist or doctor is in the pocket of big pharma. So I think you should get this one too. It should be pretty straightforward. I'm being a little tongue-in-cheek here. And it is B, the symptoms significantly impacted the person's daily life. And this is the thing that people miss all the time when they say, Oh, we all have an off day. Depression doesn't exist. We all feel down. Sure. However, if it impacts your life on a daily basis and you can't get out of bed and go to work, now we have a problem. And same thing with obsessive compulsive disorder. If you like things to be a certain way and you're perfectionistic, great, that can actually be a positive. But if it gets to the point where you cannot do anything and you're not able to live like a regular person and it significantly impacts you, and that's to be determined by specialists, not lay people or even yourself, that's the big thing with all of these disorders, etc., mental health issues. It has to significantly be impactful. That first one, A, the number of times I have heard people say things to me and I've been confronted with that. Well, I like to have my glass right in the middle of the arm of a chair, or I like to have my pencils all lined up on my desk. Is that OCD? And my question to them is always, is that all you can think about? Or if I ask you to move it, are you going to freak out, have a meltdown, not be able to do anything? Or are you going to just feel uncomfortable and let me do it? And if they say that it's just going to make me a little uncomfortable, they do not have obsessive compulsive disorder. And this last one, the psychiatrist or doctors in the pocket of big pharma, you've probably all seen a lot of that online. And as I talked about Dr. Jonathan Stea, this was just yesterday. And Adam Rowland decided to say, how much are you getting paid for your vaccine misinformation obsession? Now, this is about vaccines, but Stea gets it regarding ADHD, OCD, drug treatment, you name it. And so he says, just to clear the air, I love his response, I get paid in random cash amount from Big Pharma. It's delivered monthly in a large brown sack to my porch, along with ingredients to make chemtrails and space lasers that the public isn't ready to hear about. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful response to that. Question 3, approximately how many children in the US have been diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder? And by children, I mean under the age of 18, so school age kids and teens. 0.01%, 1%, 3%, or 10%. It's actually 3%. So it's a lot more common than people realize, and it's quite hidden, so it might even be higher because people aren't aware of what it really looks like, doctors included. Now, this is a lot of reading. I'm not going to read over all of this, and in the future, when it's recorded and posted up on the YouTube channel, you can take your time and read through these. I'll just highlight a few of them. Question 4, which of the following is not a known symptom of OCD? For each, assume excessive life-interfering levels of the obsession or compulsion. So sitting at your desk unable to write because the words aren't perfect, your friend will die. After reading 3 words, you have to count to 20 before reading the next 3 words. Driving over a bump makes you think you have run over a person, so you have to circle back to make sure there is no one lying on the road, resulting in taking 8 hours to drive home from work. Fearing offending God, and so on. There's lucky numbers, washing cars over and over, and intricate thoughts about stabbing your friend and a fear you will murder them. Well, I'm not going to increase any of them. I'm just going to change the color because actually all of these are known symptoms of OCD. And these are all symptoms either my family has experienced or I have known somebody or read about it in books written by neurologists or specialists with OCD. And I'm just going to talk a little more specifically about a couple. This one here is really common. And actually, my husband had this to some degree. Now, he never got to the point where he would circle back to make sure there was no one lying on the road. But every time he went over a bump, and you know what Calgary roads are like, he would think, oh my God, I just ran over a person. And would freak out a little bit, but he knew it was nonsensical. And most of the time, the people with OCD recognize their thoughts don't make sense, but it doesn't stop them. And that's what's so difficult about this. And so they will eventually sometimes give in and start looking, going back, driving back, checking, driving to the next bump, checking again, and so on. And this was a family member as well. Washing any car that is dirty if it is parked in front of your house, even the house you're visiting. They would disappear and go wash a stranger's car. And they would wash their own car sometimes multiple times per day, at least once per day. So it's excessive. And it is, you'd have to decide if it was only one car a day, is that life interfering? Do we need the diagnosis? Maybe not. But if it became more and more of a problem, then maybe help is needed. So let's move on now to the law of attraction. And it's really interesting. I didn't even know what the law of attraction was until 2022, and we'll discuss that a little bit later. And often when I ask people, do you know what the law of attraction is? I often get, never heard of it. But I'm going to go over what else it is called. And lots of times people go, oh, that's what it is. So now we're going to do a quiz time about the law of attraction. So the law of attraction belief is A, astrological star signs from the foundation of successful relationships. B, positive or negative thoughts bring positive or negative experiences into a person's life. C, all living things are interconnected through a universal energy field. D, yoga and meditation can help you find people with positive energy fields to build healthy relationships with. Now, if you were at the first Week in Reason in 2023, there were people in the audience that had never heard of this, just like I hadn't. And what is it? It's actually positive or negative thoughts bring positive or negative experiences into a person's life. C, kind of, yes. It's also can be part of it, but mostly it is B. And essentially, what you focus on, whether consciously or subconsciously, will shape your reality. I hope you're starting to see why having this belief in the law of attraction plus obsessive compulsive disorder might be problematic. Now, according to Jonathan Stea, he says that the basic tenet of the law is that like attracts like, meaning that if we want something in our lives, we simply need to focus our thoughts on that something and it will come to us. So if we want to have money, just think about money. If we want to have love, we just think about romance. And the law, of course, is scientifically ridiculous and often explained by its proponents through misrepresentations, of course, of quantum physics and other sciencey sounding or psychological sounding language, such as sending frequencies out to the universe. Okay, question number 2. When was the first time that the term law of attraction appeared in print? And of course, the first time I'd heard of it was 2022, and I'll talk more about that in a bit. But when did it first appear?
Can I answer this? Because
Because
I know the answer.
Do you?
Yeah, it was D.
D? Okay,
Yep.
let me read them all then. Okay, that's Vincent's vote. A, 1855 in The Great Harmonia by spiritualist Andrew Jackson Davis. B, 1937 in Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. C, 1952 in The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. Or D, 2007 in The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. Now, Vincent's pretty convinced that D is when it first appeared in print. Drum roll. It's actually A. Now, what's interesting is every single one of those, it has appeared in print. So you're not wrong, Vincent. It's just not it was the first time that it appeared in print. And yes, most people think it's The Secret because Rhonda Byrne really made the whole law of attraction very famous in present day. Now, what's really interesting, though, about this Andrew Jackson Davis is that he actually did not use it in the same way that we refer to it now. How he used it was when we die, our souls become magnetically attracted and our soul becomes a sphere. That's how he used it. Now, the idea of our thoughts controlling our health, however, can be traced back to before then. And that's what this guy, Phineas Parkhurst Quimby. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of him. And he is recognized as foundational to the New Thought spiritual movement that still exists today. And he was possibly the first person who was ever documented to believe that one can control your health by your thoughts. And that included cancer. And for example, what he would say to his patients or to people is that if you go to a doctor and talk about possible diseases, that will cause them to occur. And in fact, he called doctors quacks, which in the early 1800s, they probably were. Now, his thoughts, Quimby, is still celebrated today by the law of attraction gurus, as indicated by this website that I found called Sympathetic Vibratory Physics, Bridging Science and Spirituality. I bet you'd like that one, Lois. And this is straight from their site. And he is recognized as the founding father of the 19th century mind cure movement. He was one of the first mesmerists, sort of mesmerism time that was really popular. Hypnotists, sort of the animal magnetism that connected everybody together. And he practiced in America from his office in Portland, Maine. And he cured over 12,000 clients of various physical and mental infirmities during his time at work, using the power of mind communicating with mind. He was apparently clairvoyant, telepathic, and also involved in spiritualism. Next question. Question 3. Choose the people below who have promoted or have said they believe in the law of attraction, and more than one answer is possible. A. Oprah Winfrey. B. Jim Carrey. C. Will Smith. D. Tony Robbins. E. Lady Gaga. F. Ariana Grande. G. Arnold Schwarzenegger. And H. Richard Saunders.
Only 2 names come out for me.
I think all of them.
No,
Elio, you're
I don't
funny.
think it's all of them. I think it's A and D.
Yeah. The closer to the top of that list, the more likely I think it is for each person.
Oh, I like that idea. But believe it or not, everybody except, I hope most of you recognize that Richard Saunders
Richard
is
Saunders.
not on that list.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that he did it in the past before becoming the
Becoming a skeptic. So all these people have said it, and there's videos online with people saying how much they believed in it. I watched a clip with Lady Gaga. I love Lady Gaga. I love her music, and I still will love her music and her talent. But unfortunately, she equates her success to the law of attraction, which makes me think about all those people who have been on things like American Idol, who have big dreams and never make it. And basically, it's their own fault if you believe in this. And that's the problem I have with it. So if you don't know who Richard Saunders is, he is the producer of the Skeptic Zone podcast. He is much more than that. He has been actively involved in Australian skeptics for many, many years. Has been on TV shows, etc. And this is with me and Kat McLeod, who are also reporters. And this is our official promo picture. It's very fun. And so the law, yeah, it's good, isn't it? That's Richard having fun. The law of attraction has been rebranded and resold multiple times. Which of these is not a rebranding of the law of attraction? At least not yet, and at least not as far as I know. I've searched. It was really hard for me to come up with one that wasn't actually law of attraction yet. So A is quantum thinking. B is the magnet mind method. C is manifesting, D is lucky boy syndrome, E is lucky girl syndrome, and F is the quantum magnetic catalyst code.
Probably the lucky boy syndrome.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. That was actually one of my answers and then I looked it up, and guess what?
Oh. It really is.
It really is. There's lots of TikTok videos with lucky boy syndrome as well as lucky girl syndrome. And the other one is when I did a similar presentation to this last year in St. Louis and Raleigh, I had quantum thinking as the one that hasn't been branded as the law of attraction yet. And somebody looked it up, and there was a book released last summer called Quantum Thinking and the Power of Quantum Thinking. So it was really hard to come up with something that I couldn't find attached to the law of attraction. There's so much out there, and this is just a very small list. And I did look for the quantum magnetic catalyst code, but the catalyst code is just on its own. That's attached to the law of attraction and the magnet mind method. When I came up with that one, I was so proud, and then I was so disappointed when I found out.
Yeah, the law of attraction attracts these things.
It apparently does. And what's really interesting, especially regarding this whole lucky girl syndrome and lucky boy syndrome, which really became popular on TikTok in 2024, is that there actually is a science-based book about luck. And I just like to promote that right now. And this is by Richard Wiseman. It's called The Luck Factor. It is wonderful. And this book presents the most elusive of holy grails, an actual scientifically proven way to understand, control, and increase your luck. It's really worth reading. It's an excellent book. Now, incorporating the law of attraction, there's a whole lot of wellness organizations, spiritual organizations that incorporate this into their belief systems. And I'm going to go over a few of these. There's so many. There's no way I could spend an hour on it. I could spend days on it. The first one I want to talk about is one that I really did a deep dive into, and that was Abraham Hicks. And I ran into Abraham Hicks on a cruise in 2022, and I'd never heard of them. I didn't know what it was. And if you want to find out more, please do check out my article. It is a free article on Skeptical Inquirer. And when I came back from this cruise, I went to CSICon. We did WeCanReason, and nobody had ever heard of it before. I've run into a few people who have heard of it, but not many. What is it about? Well, Esther, who is pictured here, and you're going to see her in a video later, she channels a group of entities named Abraham. And that's something that tends to go along with this law of attraction for some reason, entities that are channeled. And initially, she communicated with these entities by moving her nose around to spell out letters that her husband, who's pictured here, would write down. And eventually they communicated through her mind, not her nose. And they told her about the law of attraction. And they wrote this book that you can see here that I bought and read, so you don't have to. Now, here's a little code if you want to get a subscription to Skeptical Inquirer, which I highly recommend. I really like the publication. And yes, I'm biased because I have several publications, including a cover story. Now, The Secret, now Vincent brought that up already with Rhonda Byrne. I'm not going to talk about that. Most people are aware of what The Secret was about. And if you don't know about it, just go to Wikipedia and take a look. And they're all basically the same thing. The one I'm going to talk a little bit more about are Access Consciousness, the Modern Mystery School, and Mind Valley. Now, Access Consciousness is something I had never heard of. This is a worldwide organization started in the US and has millions of followers. And it's a combination of energy healing, phrenology, and the phrenology is more like if you touch your head in the right place, you can touch the access bars and then you can heal yourself. So it's these energy bars. It also involves multi-level marketing, some sexual misconduct, and a whole lot more. The Wikipedia page is quite interesting, as well as there was a great article by, oh my goodness, I was going to say Jonathan Stea. It's the other Jonathan from the McGill Office of Science and Society, who wrote a great article And he discovered their manual, their training manual. And this gives you a little taste of what they learn in these sessions. And what you have to do is you have to clear out negative energies from your mind. And how do you do that? Well, you read. What are the RRRs for the SAS for suppressing anger and confrontation as the MP11 of linearities through the AEA of consciousness as the eradication of simultaneity, simultaneity, oh boy, in all realities, relationships, BHC, EEMCS, and destruct universes, right, wrong, good, bad, pod, poc, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. What does that mean? Who knows? And you have to sign up to find out about it. However, I did find a video where they did discuss this right, wrong, good, bad, etc. And the people who created this couldn't remember all of them. It was quite funny to watch. And the good news is you don't have to say all of this. You can just do pod and poc or poc pod over and over again, and it will apparently do the same thing. Now, because I'm a Wikipedia editor, I always include in my talks some kind of crazy Wikipedia thing. And what happened when I created this is some believers discovered the Wikipedia page and they were not happy. And so they tried to delete it a couple times and it would get reverted right away. And then this person here decided to add that Access Consciousness is the best life-changing set of tools in the world movement founded by Gary Douglas. Of course, it was reverted very quickly. That's how Wikipedia works pretty well most of the time. The next one I want to talk about is the Modern Mystery School. And if you want to find out more about this, I discussed it with Faith and Romero Rodriguez from Raleigh, North Carolina. And we discussed the Modern Mystery School with regards to how they try and push the law of attraction. It's another multi-level marketing style, and it's a strange organization because they also incorporate a lot of mysticism, incorporated into martial arts, Nordic gods, and of course the law of attraction and magic wands. So maybe it's a little cool, I don't know. The most disturbing thing to me, again, this is a worldwide organization, but it is based in Canada, in Toronto, and Japan. And the last one I'm going to talk about is this Mind Valley, which is, again, another crazy one that comes up a lot on Facebook, or at least it did, as well as YouTube. And if you want to find out more, I'm going to promote Coleman Watts here. He did an excellent deep dive into the Mind Valley universe. And you can find it on Think This Through on YouTube. And what's kind of interesting here is this fellow who is the leader that's pictured. His name is Vishen Lakia, and he is a salesperson. He's trying to sell these courses because, of course, multi-level marketing. And I love it how Coleman actually calls him a karma salesman. I thought that was quite brilliant. And remember, these organizations all use law of attraction as one of their foundations, and there's so many more out there. And that's what really is frightening to me, is it's so popular. And there's millions of views on these videos, and in TikToks and Instagram, there's a lot of followers, and I'm guessing a lot of money to be made. So I decided to go into TikTok and YouTube and watch a lot of these, and I have to say it was kind of depressing. And so I made a montage of it. Watch out for Esther Hicks, who I've talked about. But I also want you to watch out for Kat McLeod, my fellow reporter from the Skeptic Zone, because I showed this originally at a different place and everybody was really depressed afterwards. So I wanted to add some humor and lighten it up and just kind of showcase how silly this whole thing is. So watch out for these people. And here we go.
About 2 weeks ago, I started implementing something new in my morning routine / night routine that completely changed the game.
When you ask, it is immediately given, but there's often quite a vibrational gap between what you're asking for and where you're hanging around. That's what you were talking.
Have you ever heard of POCPOD? POCPOD is a very powerful clearing statement that you can voice to take you back to the point of creation, to destroy the nucleated spheres of limitation and programming that you hold from this timeline or others.
Disney taught me that any common girl can become a princess if she just uses the law of attraction and her feminine wiles. She can have anything she wants if she tries hard enough.
A while ago, I saw a video of this neuroscientist. Basically, in her video, she said that after you wake up for 10 minutes, your brain is in what's called theta waves, which apparently is the point in which your subconscious is more susceptible to information that it's being fed.
Right at your fingertips, you just need to allow it in. Abraham Hicks calls this the vortex.
You find some way to find vibrational alignment with what you're asking for. It really is the path of least resistance.
So, since I was about 8, I've had Jacqueline Onassis and Lady Diana Spencer on my vision board because I want to manifest my Prince Charming so I can be a pretty princess too. I already have a ring that looks like Di's, and I have a tiara. Or 2, or 3, or a lot more, if I'm really honest. I've got a tiara for every occasion, actually. Even my categories, I've got one too many. But I've yet to find my Prince Charming. So I guess I'm just not doing something right. How specific do you really have to be for all this manifesting stuff?
What I started doing is every single time that I wake up in the middle of the night, for 2 seconds, I literally just open my eyes, or even with my eyes closed, I don't care. I just go I'm so lucky, great things always happening to me unexpectedly.
It's basically like this quantum field of all of the possibilities and all of the things that you ask the universe for.
POC is short for point of creation. It expands your energy and your consciousness. And POD is short for point of destruction. It cancels all the judgments that we create that keep us small.
You ultimately reemerge into non-physical.
And holy shit, did it work.
In 30 days, you can have cleaned up enough of your vibration. And by clean it up, all we mean is find a better feeling thought, find a better feeling thought, find a better feeling thought, find a better feeling thought. That do you know that you are 30 days or less from being a vibrational match to the source that is really you?
So there's a little taste of what you can find on the internet. And I think these are all dynamic speakers. A lot of them are young, attractive women. And there's millions of views on all of these, except for Kat's, at least for now. Let's hope she starts getting more. And
yeah, I wonder why.
She deserves more as far as I'm concerned. Those
sure.
And yeah, you could tell that she's being quite facetious. But let's put this all together. So when I was reading Jonathan Stea's book last year, I was astounded that my two worlds kind of came together. My presentations about obsessive compulsive disorder, ADHD, Tourette syndrome, as well as this other side that I'd been investigating, which is the law of attraction. And he started talking about the two together and how problematic it is when you're dealing with somebody who is addicted and has OCD and they're following the law of attraction, and how hard they are to treat and why it's problematic. And I highly recommend this book. If you haven't already read it, I do recommend that you do read it. So he talks about something called thought action fusion, which is something I was unaware of before. And what is that? Well, it's where somebody has a thought and they think it's more likely to occur. For example, I was thinking about a car accident. I was just driving along and it popped into my head. So if I see a car accident or I'm involved in one, I will automatically decide that my thought caused the accident. And so if I think about it, I'm going to be more likely to either witness one or be in an accident. And this is most common, this belief is most common with people with obsessive compulsive disorder and what's called generalized anxiety. And research has shown that belief in the law of attraction can actually worsen the symptoms and increase the person's anxiety. What is generalized anxiety? It's a huge topic on its own that I could probably do a several-hour talk on. My kids have generalized anxiety. I've been diagnosed with it. And what is it? It's a mental health condition. It's characterized by excessive, persistent worry about various aspects of your life, often without a clear reason, and it leads to physical tension, relentlessness, restlessness, and difficulty concentrating. And again, to be diagnosed with it, it has to have significant impact on your life. One of my big anxieties was public speaking. In fact, just raising my hand in the staff room at the school would set me off into a panic attack. So totally unwarranted fear. And now I'm a public speaker. So there you go. It can be overcome. So risks of manifesting, the messages about manifesting can directly feed into problematic beliefs that support obsessive compulsive disorder, including my thoughts have a direct impact on the world around me. And if I think bad thoughts, bad things will happen. I'm responsible for the consequences of my thoughts, and I should be able to control my thoughts. And if I can't, there has to be something wrong with me. And this was really clearly stated in this website, navigationpsychology.com, and I thought it was very good. So this is typical of people's obsessive compulsive thoughts, and you can see how it overlaps with the whole manifesting law of attraction type thinking. Now, why is this harmful? Well, according to Jonathan Stea, in his book, he talks about a specific patient that he had to try to help who was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder. And it was very difficult because they had this belief in the law of attraction. This person was desperately afraid that if she saw or heard the word AIDS, that's AIDS, the disease, that she would manifest it, that she would become ill. And this was very difficult for him to treat. Where did this thought start? With The Secret, with Rhonda Byrne's book. So I think it's really important at this point to note that Jonathan Stea and I are not saying that you shouldn't try to be positive. You shouldn't have positive thoughts, etc., or to visualize yourself doing wonderful things. Just that your nighttime dreams, daydreams, or random thoughts that kind of pop into your brain all the time will not make it more likely to happen. And again, I'm going to reinforce, read Richard Wiseman's book, The Luck Factor, that I mentioned before for more clarification on this really important difference. And there's lots of evidence to say that positive thoughts can make you happier, for sure, but it's not going to make you rich. It's not going to get you that singing gig, etc. Now, I'm going to go back to quote something from the Hicks book, The Law of Attraction. And I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'm just going to read the really sloppily yellow highlighted part that I did quite intentionally to challenge those of you with obsessive compulsive like tendencies. It's exposure and response in action here. So people often explain in the midst of unwanted things occurring in their experience that they are certain they did not create such a thing. Because you did not understand the laws of the universe, so you did not understand the laws of the universe or the rules of the game, so to speak, you have invited unwanted things into your experience through your attention to them. As far as I'm concerned, that's really blaming the person for their issues, whether it be ill health, abuse, or bad luck, loss of job because of bad economy, whatever. So this is Sean Ferguson, somebody I found online who has quite a detailed story about her experience with the law of attraction. And she says when she was 10, she had a nightmare about a flood that came from nowhere, killing everyone she knew. And a few days later, You remember in 2004, there was a tsunami in Indonesia, and it killed more than 200,000 people. And she became convinced that she had caused the tsunami. And I think that is terribly sad. And this is just her thought that came into her mind. And then she read The Secret, which reinforced this thought that she was responsible for this disaster. But not only that, so this is when she was 12, so 2 years after the tsunami. And she was convinced after reading this book that a sexual assault that had occurred a few months before was her fault, because she had watched a news report and read magazines that had covered stories about sexual violence. Makes me very sad to hear this story. And it wasn't until she was diagnosed with OCD when she was 20 that she realized that she was not responsible for these events. It's a long time to feel pretty guilty about things. And that leads me to really reinforce that proper treatment is essential for obsessive compulsive disorder. And the law of attraction does not help. In fact, it's really counterproductive to the help they need. And just to be clear as well, law of attraction does not cause obsessive compulsive disorder. It's more like the other way around, that people with OCD tend to be attracted to the law of attraction, because it makes it so that the people with OCD may not seek the treatment that they actually need. Most therapy, proper therapy, and coaching aims to help individuals recognize that these types of thoughts are irrational. On the other hand, the concept of the law of attraction, they suggest the opposite, implying that people can manifest both positive outcomes through positive thinking and negative outcomes through negative thinking. I thought this quote from Anna Kress, who's a licensed psychologist from New Jersey, was very good. And it explains how people with anxiety disorders are drawn to the law of attraction, manifesting, lucky girl syndrome, whatever you want to call it. Some people who already have OCD may also naturally gravitate toward manifestation teachings and try to follow them perfectly in an attempt to seek certainty. It's like they're self-medicating. They might engage in practices such as trying to have only positive thoughts or deleting negative thoughts repeatedly in order to ward off anxiety. And that's exactly opposite of what treatment will do. So mental health education is unfortunately being sabotaged by the wellness industry. And there seems to be a lot of people who believe that mental health can be overcome just by exercising, by being positive, and by choosing not to have issues. I wish it was that simple. There's so much mental health misinformation out there that is perpetuated by all kinds of public figures. So to finish off, I'm going to illustrate why Stia's book is so important to me, as well as it should be to everybody else. And I'm going to give you some examples that are going to cover other mental health issues like ADHD and depression. So you might recognize this fellow. It is Matt Walsh. And he's going to respond to the National Geographic post that says, as the US continues to face a nationwide shortage of Adderall, which is a medication for ADHD, due to surging demand in recent years, some adults with ADHD are forced to navigate life while unmedicated. I have an ADHD diagnosis, and when I hit menopause, my ADHD went through the roof, and I am so grateful that that medication exists. I was not functioning. What used to take me 3 hours was taking me 5 days. That's impacting my life. And this is what Matt Walsh said. Adults with ADHD are forced to navigate life while unmedicated. The horror! You mean adults might have to learn how to function as human beings without unnecessarily drugging themselves? What a shocking thought. And to me, that is so insensitive and ignorant, I guess is the best word. He really does not understand what he's talking about. If it was that easy, I think we'd all just, pick ourselves up and go and just think positive thoughts, I guess. So he continues. He says, you don't have ADHD. You just get distracted because you live your life surrounded by distractions. And you've never developed the discipline required to focus on one task at a time. Can't solve that with a drug, I'm afraid. Actually, you can. And I had a life until I was almost 60 that I did not need medication. And then suddenly I did. And boy, was I grateful for it, because I can tell you, I would not be here presenting for you right now if I didn't have it. I wouldn't be able to get it done. And this is what Jonathan Stea's response is for another interesting, I think it was tweet, or what do you call it, X, whatever it's called. As a clinical psychologist, I've worked in a hospital setting for over a decade, helping people who experience severe depression. They didn't choose it. This is why mental health literacy matters. What is he responding to? Good old tater tot, Andrew Tate. Depression is not a disease, all caps, because it can be cured by exercising and getting rich. It's simply a choice. Again, shows lack of understanding. And this is very harmful because there are people who could be helped who are not seeking the help. And that's everything. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you learned something today. And I always like to finish with this little silly joke. I've had this for years, ever since I started presenting. I have CDO. It's like OCD, but the letters are in alphabetical order, like they should be. Hopefully, are there any questions? I'll stop sharing.
I like that.
I loved it. Adrienne,
Did you
that
learn
video
something?
of yours destroyed my mind. I don't think I can think anymore.
Wasn't that crazy? Oh, could you imagine me? I had so many more, but I just, yeah, it's enough. I think it's enough.
In Calgary, back in the late 90s, or was this late 90s? No, this was 2008 or 9 or something. There was a course on the law of attraction.
Oh,
And I almost took it.
wow.
I spent a lot of money on a book that was an incredibly thick book. And they taught the law of attraction stuff. So
Wow.
Yeah,
It might have been written by Esther Hicks, because she wrote that around the same time Linda Burns did The Secret. So anyway, thank you, David Spencer. This is the ADHD happening. Jonathan Jerry. Yes. And he's going to kill me for not remembering his name. I work with him quite a lot. He does a lot of great work, wonderful work, through the Office of Science and Society at McGill University. And of course, not Richard. Yes, Brenda. Any questions or just general discussion? What time is it? How did I do? Oh, I did okay.
Oh, you did great. Yeah, we have 1 hour. Well, it's booked for an hour, but we know you're busy after this. So if we can finish 8:55 or something.
Yeah, that's
help.
perfect. Yeah, we could just have a hangout. But
no, I almost got into that.
It gives a sense of control, right? A sense of, if I do this, then I can be successful. It's interesting because one of the things I've never really talked about this. Oh, go ahead, Lois. I was going to do a story, but if you have a question.
Well, I was just going to say, can you give some kind of, like, you said that your kids were diagnosed with OCD. Can you describe things that they went through because of it, or just, examples to help us get a deeper feeling for it?
Yeah, so one of the things that comes to mind right away, I mean, there's lots that I could tell you about phobias and obsessive compulsiveness, but the hidden aspect of it was really hard for me as a parent to recognize because it's all up here. And my oldest, Graham, used to just sit there in class. So his teachers thought he was refusing to work. I thought he was refusing to work. But once we had the diagnosis, we realized what it was is he could not get anything out of his head until it was perfect in his head. So if it was perfect, then he would write it down. However, it's never perfect, so therefore he never writes it down. So it's a loop that you just get stuck in. He used to describe it as he would, in his head, he's a donkey, and then there's a bale of hay over here that looks really good, so tasty. And there's another one over here that's a little bit bigger, but looks really good too, but just maybe a different color. Oh, but that one over here is, oh, but it's so golden and yummy looking. But this one over here, it's a little bigger and I'll have more to eat. And he says, then eventually the donkey starves to death because you can't move forward. So that's sort of the thought process that was going on in the head, totally hidden. And that's what can actually stop a diagnosis, right? Because people attribute it to laziness, to stubbornness, to all sorts of things when really there's something serious going on in the brain. And once we got help, and that's where I alluded to exposure and response therapy. So how do we overcome this? Well, we just make them write anything. And it's very stressful. My kids melted down, my oldest and youngest, both, when they did these exercises where they had to just write anything, even if it's wrong. And they couldn't stop for however long. Like, we'd have these little conversations. How long do you think you can write for without stopping? 30 seconds. Okay, let's do 30 seconds. They're never going to say 10 minutes because that's just overwhelming. So you start small and you slowly get them to overcome this. You could call it perfectionistic thinking. Yes, it's perfectionistic thinking on steroids, though, right? Because it really is. It's over the top. And I hope that helped answer that question. That's just one
absolutely.
aspect.
No, that really makes you feel it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And again, I used to bring Graham to my presentations and he would tell that story. And it was him telling it's way better than me telling it, right? Because it's personal to him. He totally could portray it so beautifully because he lived it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
By the way, he's a terrific kid. Well, man.
Yes. And he's a dad now. Like these kids. It's hard to believe, isn't it?
Yes.
Because you met him in Toronto, I think, Lois.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So it really is, he's done amazingly well. And I can't imagine where my kids would be without the huge amount of help that they received. Yeah, they had psychiatrists, psychologists, there were occupational therapists involved, which were very important for sensitivities, like clothing sensitivities and temperature and light and all these other things. What else? Oh, neurologists.
Plus, they had an incredible mom.
Oh, thank you. But again, I feel really lucky, and I've talked about this with Jonathan Stea. I fell into the correct help because one of the things he talks about in his book is how many psychologists don't really understand obsessive compulsive disorder. Wow. They don't understand ADHD and they give incorrect treatments. And when we moved from Edmonton to Calgary, it was very important for us to get somebody who could do cognitive behavioral therapy with the specific exposure and response therapy, which is really the most helpful for obsessive compulsive disorder. And at that time, there were only 2 in Calgary that the psychiatrist up in Edmonton recommended. Lots of psychologists say they actually do it. However, it's complicated. And Stea talks about in his book how he gets clients that say, oh, I've done that and it didn't work. And he says, okay, describe the treatment to me. And they describe it and he goes, yeah, that's not cognitive behavioral therapy. And these are from psychologists, from so-called specialists. So they, I think people underestimate how much knowledge is required to do these treatments properly. And you really do need to take the courses and kind of specialize in them and recognize that if you get a client and you're not specialized, hey, I'm really more with grief. I've really specialized in grief counseling. So you really need to find somebody else who can do this instead of trying to be something that's really good for all, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Yeah. Great question.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Lois.
Thank you.
All right, David.
So it's a very common thing. I mean, some of the things you're talking about, the law of attraction things. People don't want to say a good thing will happen because you'll jinx it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there are people I know who tend to believe, or actually believe it, don't want to things. Goblins, not goblins, but some. There's there's a machine that's going to break down because it's got a thing in it. It's from I can't remember the name. Anyway, so there's some little things like that.
Mm-hmm. That's almost counter to law of attraction, right?
Well, no. You think of something bad, then it'll happen.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So don't say that, because the so and so will do that to the machine.
Right.
I just can't remember that. So there's a lot of little things that are like what you're describing. That this is very disturbing.
Yeah, and I feel a little bit like it's become embroidered into our culture. Now, my husband asked a really interesting question. Is this just our reptilian brains and the way they think? That we have this belief that if I think about a car accident, that it will happen, or did somebody come up with the idea and spread that, right? Like this whole law of attraction, which came first, who knows? But I really believe that this, even if you don't even know about the law of attraction, that whole power of positive thinking is huge. I mean, I remember a friend of mine whose mother and brother had cancer, and people would say to her, oh, you've got to make sure your mom and your brother are thinking positively or else they're going to die. And that's prevalent, right? That kind of thought. Oh, if you're diagnosed with something awful, just think positively and your chances are increased, because there's studies that say that they do increase. But actually what it is if you have positive thoughts, you'll be happier while you're going through chemotherapy, kind of thing, right? Yeah, toxic positivity. Yes, Marilyn, that's exactly right.
So and I suspect we have a big proponent in Alberta of that by the name of Danielle Smith.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, Marilyn, that's how I feel too.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought I'd share something.
Mm-hmm.
Is that showing up?
Yes. Oh.
Maybe somebody else could use yours.
Oh, yeah. I had an interesting, I did actually not this talk, but I did a bit for Skeptoid about this on the Skeptoid podcast as a guest host. And somebody reached out to me after they heard it. And, I talked about the fellow who wrote the book, Power of Positive Thinking, which was, what was it, the 1930s? I can't remember.
Norman Vincent Peale?
Yes. And apparently, this is what she said, that Donald Trump's favorite book, and that's the book he lives by. So there's another leader who really, I mean, that's how he thinks. And that, I think, explains a lot about how insensitive he is about things. Right? I got here because I thought, right, I worked hard, I did this, I did that. So my thoughts are correct. Your thoughts aren't.
Wow.
Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting. And she sent me links to articles that have been written about this. And yeah, it's apparently that's what he believes in. Yes, Lois.
Yeah, another question. Are there any personality types? There are things that make somebody more susceptible to OCD.
I think it's more genetics. That's my non-professional point of view. But I think it tends to run in families. I think brain trauma can also maybe bring it out. I think that even if you are prone to it, like you have it in your genetics, and then you have trauma, just even emotional trauma, it can bring it out. Even my own kids, I would notice it would get worse, say after getting sick, right? Even a physical sickness,
right?
They would struggle with it a little more, or say things were really stressful at school, so stress would definitely make it worse. So, but I think it's really something you're born with, and I'm just trying to think of the average age of onset. I think it's different for girls and boys, but that may just be because it shows up differently. It's I think it's around 10 or 12 that it usually starts raising its head. And I know my youngest, as I say, was diagnosed at age 4, but that was a little controversial between specialists. Like one specialist said, yeah, that's a little early. We can't assume. We're not putting them on medications. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, later on. And a lot of time with Tourette syndrome too, it's not the obsessive compulsive disorder as in the DSM-5. It is slightly different. However, it's just as debilitating. So to jump through the hoops and get the help they need in schools, they quite often get diagnosed with full-blown OCD, but it's essentially the same. The outlook of it is very much the same. What the main difference is with Tourette syndrome, it has a tendency to be, I will flip a light switch 20 times until it feels right. And with OCD, I'll flip a light switch 20 times because if I don't, my mother will die. So it's has that subtle difference, but they're still doing the same thing. Yes, Jim.
When you mentioned your son and the writing and sitting with the blank piece of paper, I wish I'd either had it figured out myself earlier or somebody had pointed out to me. It doesn't have to be perfect. The first draft is always going to be crap. And just write down anything at all relevant, and then.
But it's very difficult for people with OCD to rationalize that. They know that's what they need to do. They know that makes sense, but their brain won't let them do it. No matter.
I
didn't know that for a long time.
Okay, I have to add something here. I did most of my writing in my head before I would write anything down. I mean, I wasn't frozen, but I just would go over it. And I have been known to turn in first drafts. That's how much I did in my head before I wrote it down.
That's amazing. And that just shows how much you can hold in your head, because I wouldn't be able to remember it all.
Gee, that reminds me of this scene in Amadeus where Salieri is looking at this piece written down by Mozart. There are no corrections.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because there are suppositions that Mozart had Tourette syndrome and probably OCD and other things. Usually Tourette syndrome goes along with a bunch of other things. So,
but he was also a genius.
You bet.
Okay. But in any case, what allowed him to do that was an immense memory.
Yeah. I actually just watched a really interesting video by Veritasium, which I've seen before, but I watched it again. I think he did it a couple years ago. And it was about experts like Mozart, or people who can memorize chessboards, or who are classical harp players, etc., and how they become that expert, and some of the studies around memory. And it was really fascinating, really, really fascinating. So Veritasium, he's great if you ever get a chance to watch his YouTube videos. You could probably Google memory. And basically what they said is that you just have to do it over and over and over again. It's not that thing where it's 10,000 times to become an expert. It's more than that. Like not more than 10,000 times, but there's more involved in how to become good. And what essentially he was saying, you have to not just do it repetitively, but you have to challenge yourself and make it more complex each time you do it. Yeah, the 10,000 hours thing. So he was saying that is actually not true unless in those 10,000 hours you challenge yourself each time you accomplish something. So they were showing the harp player playing, it might have been a Mozart piece, I don't remember. Right. And she would do it, like, I can't remember, 7 times the speed. And that's how she became better. Right? It's not by playing it over and over again, the regular speed. She did it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. And that's the same with learning chess and memorizing all the different moves of all the experts. You have to start with the basics, and then you have to get better. And then you have to play somebody that's more challenging and then beat them. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like that, you have to keep challenging yourself, or that 10,000 hours just makes you really good at that level. Oh, so Marilyn has a question here. Do you think that there are more OCD diagnoses because we are looking for it? I'm wondering whether it's always been around, but just measured now, asking for a friend. And yes, that is probably the most common question I get for all of these disorders, whether it be Tourette syndrome, OCD, ADHD, autism, all of these things. We're more aware of it. And we've also we keep refining it. The DSM is as a document that's used for diagnoses that keeps changing, and they keep updating it because they learn more. And absolutely, that's what it is. I mean, if you look at my family, nobody did well in school. A lot of, I had uncles who dropped out but it was never diagnosed. It was just, they're quirky, right? They're just quirky, and they just didn't fit in, and they're, so didn't do well in school, etc. And my uncle, I mean, I don't know if he ever was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder, but the psychiatrist, when we were in the intake for Graham when he was 11, and he says, have you got any relatives that do? And he sort of listed some things, and I told him about the car washing. And so I read the report afterwards. It's like, Uncle has OCD. So, but as far as I know, he's never had an official diagnosis, but that doesn't mean he didn't have it, and it wasn't impacting his life at some point. Did he overcome it? He had a very successful life, but so maybe he did. I don't know if he got help. It's not something people talked about either. So that's another part of it. I think we're much more open, which also can help people understand and seek help, I think. The number of times on a golf course I met somebody for the first time, and then I start talking about my kids, and oh my goodness, all of a sudden they start telling me about all the kids' issues, and I've recommended specific psychologists to so many people. It's really quite funny. So I think it's just been around, and we just recognize it now. Most people, not Tater Todd, but yes, Elio.
Yeah, just a comment here. You mentioned older people. My niece was born in 1990, and since she was 4 or 5, she has shown signs that she had ADHD or OCD and that stuff. My mom couldn't accept it. That she couldn't. No, that she's not crazy. My mother couldn't accept it at all. It was always an issue for her.
And that's similar to my family story. There's people in my family who can't accept the fact that I have a Tourette syndrome diagnosis for my kids. And we call it TS plus because of the OCD and ADHD and everything else. And it's really interesting because people sort of think, we don't want to label people. And it's bad to label people. And I've run into that with parents who I'm trying to help. I've run into that from teachers who are trying their best to help the kids because they don't want to label them. But my kids, or my oldest, was a behavior problem. He was weird. And when he got the diagnosis, he had Tourette syndrome, right? So I think I'd rather have that. And it also gave a direction to the teachers. Oh, he has Tourette syndrome. So we need to get him a room by himself to write tests so he can make his funny little noises and we're not telling him to shut up all the time, right? So it just helped the teachers. It helped my kid. And there's somebody in my family I learned later who was horrified that we had, not my side, of my husband's side, that was horrified that we labeled the kids, and that when they grew up, the label was going to follow them and they were never going to be successful. Well, my kids have proven otherwise.
Absolutely. Well, do you think people like Howie Mandel, who announces, openly that he has OCD, do you think he has helped in that way?
For sure. I think the more people that come forward, the better it is. And especially if they counteract some of the toxic stuff. The toxic stuff is going to take a long time to go away because people have their beliefs and people like their beliefs. And it's hard for them to imagine that someone with, say, ADHD, and I run into this. I've run into this before. I've told my story on Facebook, how, just to illustrate how frustrating it is. I left I'd done a talk in Melbourne and I was given this lovely books, 2 books, and signed by the author, one of them. And then I proceeded to leave them on the bus chair. And we're on the bus and I'm like, where are my books? I don't even remember putting them down. Right? It's just like it's just out of my head. And so I posted it. No, we went back. Luckily, I got them. I was so relieved. And so people underneath, well, everybody forgets things. Yes, they do. But my life is filled with that moment every day, several times a day. And, the best invention to me was the Apple Watch. I lose my phone probably a minimum of 4 or 5 times a day. And so I just, it's on. I don't take it off unless I'm charging it, and then I put another one on right away because otherwise I'll lose the watch. So it's, this is daily life. And I would love to just be able to say, okay, I'm just going to be more organized and it will happen, but it doesn't happen.
Yes.
Right. That's the thing.
I have read about people that they knew something was wrong with them and they couldn't convince anybody. But then when they were diagnosed and had a label, it's a real thing. There is something.
Yeah.
And that they were relieved to have that label.
Yes. And as a parent, I cried when I got the diagnosis of Tourette syndrome, but I was also hugely relieved because now I knew what was happening and I was able to have experts help me. And that was huge. My motto, it's not that every kid needs to come with a manual. Every kid needs to come with a psychiatrist, a neurologist, a psychologist, an occupational therapist, and I don't know what else, whatever you want to add. Because it was a team effort. It really, that it takes a village to raise a child was really true in my case for all my lovely children who are highly successful, and all of them moved out and all of them doing extremely well.
I still appreciate your youngest son, though, for helping my mom and I.
Daughter.
What?
Yeah, it's Emily now.
What?
Yeah. Did I not tell you that, Vincent? I am appalled. No, I'm sorry.
You didn't tell me that.
Yeah. Happier than she's ever been. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talk about obsessive compulsive symptoms going down because the stress level has gone down.
So your son turned into a daughter. Gosh, that must have been very recent.
Yeah, it's not
Stan
that long ago.
died.
Was that?
Stan died about 3 years ago.
Yeah. So it was after that, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, she knew before that, but yeah. We didn't. The rest of us didn't know.
I wouldn't have picked up on it at all, but hey, there we go.
But what's really interesting is her symptoms of the 3 kids that I had through puberty were just horrific. There was about 6 to 8 months where we couldn't even get her to school. And so you look back at it now and you go, oh, okay, it makes sense. So yeah, it's my family's an interesting one. But as I say, hugely successful, doing really well. Emily bought a place. Graham and Michelle have a place. Cam and Sarah, who are in Boston, he's runs his own business. They're all doing very well. Yeah. PhD, a master's in science, IT diploma, data science diploma. I mean, lots of education with these kids. And this is something else that, just in case, thank you, Brenda, just in case there's anybody listening who thinks that they don't get accommodations all the way through to PhD. Yeah, they do. My kids had accommodations in the US. Now, maybe things are going to change, who knows? But at the time, my son had accommodations for his anxiety and obsessive compulsiveness in his PhD program. So it does happen all the way through. So it's another myth that I've had to tackle. Even just last week or 2 weeks ago, somebody's saying, oh, on the diploma exam, they don't get a scribe if it's in their IPP, their individual program plan for education. And I was a scribe for the diploma exam for many years when I was in the school system for Calgary Board of Education. So I knew that one was not true. There's lots of myths out there.
Okay, I can see all kinds of things where you need some sort of accommodation for, say, blindness or deafness or
for sure.
Yeah.
And the thing is obsessive compulsive disorder, as I say, is a hidden disorder, but it's not much different than, as I say, glasses or, as you say, deafness or anything else. It is still something that can hinder your success without accommodation and without help, right? So yeah, no, these are really good questions. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Oh, what is qu'est-ce que c'est? Oh, I love it, the French. What a scribe is somebody who writes down for you. Like, there's a lot of kids, and actually I'm tutoring somebody right now with something called dysgraphia. And that means they have difficulty with their fine motor skills and huge difficulties with writing. And it would take them hours to accomplish a task that most of us can do in, half an hour, say. And so what I would do, and I scribed for English and biology, I think it was. So what happens is I have the pen and they tell me what to write, and then they edit it and they tell me what to edit. And then, so I wrote everything, and I'm not allowed to do anything different. But it was really interesting to do, and it was really fun. The other thing that can happen is you can be a reader for somebody, so you read out the exam to them. And I've been a reader and a scribe. So I read it out and then I write down their answers. And I can't do math because I was a math teacher, but I did physics, biology, and chemistry. And so it was really fun for me trying to read out some biology terms and chemistry terms. I'm like, I don't know. I hope I said that right. Because they don't want you to be the expert, because you can give it away, right? You can be like, oh yeah, that's right. Whereas I'm writing stuff down I have no idea about.
I remember.
Watch out for the clever hands thing. If you know the answer at all, it's very hard to not react. Not react.
Yeah, exactly right, David. And so they know that, and so you cannot be a scribe or a reader for your own subject area.
Yeah, something kind of related. I remember the suggestion that the reading glasses from sort of about 1200 or so was a big help for intellectual life in Europe, because you could keep going for years longer.
Yeah, exactly. I like what Marilyn says there. There are days when I need me a scribe. Oh my goodness, me too. And that's where that text to speech that's, it's getting pretty good now, right? Where you can talk into this. It's pretty funny sometimes what it comes out with. One of the, I can't remember exactly what was said, so I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I was secretary for the Tourette OCD Alberta Network because the secretary was away. And so I filled in our last board meeting. And so it's recorded in Zoom like this. And then there's the transcript. And so she sent me the transcript. And somewhere in it, apparently, I said, there is sperm. I have no idea what I was really saying, but it was not that. So the text to speech is certainly not perfect, but it's come a long way. It's pretty good. Oh, if there's no more questions, I was going to tell you a little story that actually I haven't told anybody else, and it really made me kind of sad for this person. This was on the cruise.
It's being recorded, right?
Yeah. Well, I've just never thought about it, right? In this situation, I don't think it's going to be a problem, but you can tell me. You can erase it, Elio. There are editing tools. Send it to me. I'll edit it out.
Just let me know.
Yeah. So when we were on the cruise, there were so many. There's half the people on that cruise that were part of the Abraham Hicks group. And one of the things that we noticed is that you'd be talking to people like you do when you're on a cruise ship and saying, hey, nice to meet you. Where are you from? That kind of thing. Quite often, very early in the conversation, it came up, are you part of the Abraham Hicks group? And we'd say no. And then they would politely say, oh, it was really nice talking to you, and walk away. And it took me a while to figure out, like, I thought, what's going on? Like, I don't understand this. And as I started researching it, and I think they were afraid that we would bring negative energy to them. And it wasn't anything personal. It's just if you're not part of the group, you're not trying to bring the right kind of energy towards you. And therefore, almost like you're contaminated. It was really sad to me. What's that?
You've got cooties.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that, like elementary school, isn't it? It just felt really weird. And there was an incident on one of our tours, and all the Abraham Hicks people had their own little name tags. So it was very easy to see on the tours who was part of that group and who wasn't. And all the tours that we were on, we get on a bus and they'd take us somewhere, and the guides were excellent. And they always had the front two seats by the driver, because they always had their, information and stuff in one, maps or whatever in one seat. And then in the other seat, they sat with their mic and they told their history, etc. But they wait outside on the bus. But everybody knows not to go in that front seat, correct? At least I thought. So this one woman in the group decided she wanted to sit in that front seat. And so she sat there. And then the tour guide came on just to do a head count. And she says, oh, I'm sorry, but I need this seat. Can you please sit in the back somewhere? And this girl argued with her that no, she wanted this seat, and therefore she was sitting there. And she used that kind of language. And again, after researching this, she was trying to manifest. This is my thoughts, so I don't know if it's true, but I think she was trying to manifest so that to the universe, so she could sit there. And so she wouldn't move. And she wasn't belligerent. She's just like, no, I'm going to sit here. And then the tour guide said, no, I'm sorry, you have to move. And she would get up as if she was going to move. The tour guide would leave to go and wait for the next people to come. The girl would go back into the seat. And then the tour guide would come back and say, I'm sorry, you can't sit there. I need both seats because, see, I've got my stuff on one and I need to sit in the other. And the woman's like, no, I'm going to sit here. It was really, really strange. It was really sad to me that people could think that just by wanting it, they would get it. That's how it felt to me, right? And eventually, of course, she did have to move. I think the bus driver got involved, if I remember correctly. but it was very, very sad. And, she never threw a fit. Well, she did, actually. She started throwing a fit at that point. Yeah.
Bye, Kay.
Bye, Kay. Oh, goof night? I like that. It's a goof night.
I fixed it.
No, I like goof night better, Elio. I think we should stick with that.
That's not bad, actually.
Are you familiar with Ramtha and the White Book? No, I am not. Oh, can you tell more about that, Marilyn? That sounds really interesting. But going back to the goof night while you're thinking about that, Marilyn, today I was booking my allergy shots and I did a typo and they were allergy shits because, I get a swollen arm and I left it that way.
Well, gee, if it's shots against something that causes diarrhea.
Oh yeah. Hopefully not. Yeah, thank you, Marilyn. I would love to know more about that. And
while we're waiting for Marilyn, there was a news item sometime in the last year where I think it was a bridal party was on a boat, and a whale came by and showed off for them. And one of the people said, "Yes, you manifested that whale." So you talk about manifesting something. A whale is a pretty big thing to manifest.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And they seem to take it seriously. Like,
oh yeah,
I think it's become part of the lingo in some ways, but I think there is a belief aspect that people really do believe it. Right?
Yeah, I don't know how much of it was serious.
Yeah.
When just people say something like that, you think, I think they can't possibly be serious.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I could be wrong.
Oh my heavens!
Oh,
that's some bright light there, Marilyn.
So you've got the book. Oh, cool.
Hey, hi! I am so very much enjoying this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for
coming.
Be the
wine. Could be the wine.
Yeah, I just finished mine. I need more.
Oh my God. No, I've got another half a bottle. I'm going to kick off here right away.
Nice glass of water.
By the way, Helio, very nice to see you again. It's been a long time.
Yes, it is.
Nice
Thank you for showing up.
Thank you, of course. Ramtha, the White Book. I don't know if you can
I think you need to unblur your...
Yeah, you have to unblur your background.
I have to unblur? Oh my God, I have to show you my house. Oh, for God. Anyway.
Hey, if you go behind my chair, it's a mess. It's all good. How do you spell that? Ramtha.
Well, gee, I have... I've just got the camera very carefully pointed.
And the White Book.
Oh, it's a white book.
And so somebody named J.Z. Knight, years ago, I took a course, and it was actually pretty effing wild. It was at a time in my life when I needed some guidance, and it really did. It was good. I was in the right state of mind to accommodate a little bit of bullshit in my life. So it was good.
Yeah.
But a lady by the name of J.Z. Knight actually was supposed to have channeled Ramtha, who's an ancient seer, and the White Book is actually, there's a lot of wisdom in here that actually makes sense.
It often does, right? I mean, they often borrow from things that are true, right. And then they just go a little too far, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I would love for you to be able to read this. Are you in? Yeah, you're in Calgary.
Yeah. Where are you?
Well, we live in at Roxborough House downtown on the corner of Elbow Drive and 4th Street.
Okay.
Where are you located?
Northwest.
Wow. Ish. How far up?
Oh, Edgemont. Sorry.
Edgemont. Okay, I know that area, but I'm a palliative care registered nurse, and so I deal a lot with death and dying, and I've got seminars, and I do death cafes and all this sort of thing. But a lot of the stuff some of the stuff in here around sort of like consciousness now, how do you define it? I'm having a death cafe actually tomorrow. Everybody's invited. I mean, I'm having a death cafe tomorrow at the Glenmore Inn. It's in the afternoon at 12 noon. So please come if you can.
Oh, I'd love to. I'm flying out to my parents, unfortunately, but that is something I would actually like to do. Yeah.
So I've got death cafes happening every month. So I'll stay connected and I'll give you my number and stuff and let's do that. But I'm just in the process of putting my year together for 26 for my monthly themes for the death cafes. Anyway, I digress. But the Ramtha book actually has some really interesting stuff around after death. Does it exist? What does it sound like? What does it look like? And a movie called After Death, which is factual. It sounds factual. People who have actually come back from a near-death experience and have expressed what they have what happened. And as a nurse, I know that happens. You can't explain people hovering above the table, knowing who did CPR and who broke you can't explain that. So I know this happens. So what I found is that Ramtha, I just take what I need, what makes sense to me, what resonates with my nursing heart.
Yep.
And I kick the rest to the curb. But there's still some good stuff in here.
And that's a healthy way to do it. And when I was reading through the Law of Attraction, there's some good advice in there, right?
Sure.
But there's some crap advice too. And some of it is really harmful. And I think the harmful thing with the Law of Attraction is the blame, right? You're just not thinking right. That's why you've got cancer. That's just awful. Right?
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
And I watched a video of Esther Hicks, and there was a psychologist who was asking, it was a Q&A session. I think it was a psychologist or some kind of therapist who said to her, how do I get my patients to buy into the Law of Attraction? Which to me was like, oh, this is not good. And Esther's response was something along the lines of, well, first of all, they shouldn't be going to a therapist. They should not be seeking psychologists or psychiatrists. And I'm like, oh no. It was horrifying, right? It was not good. It's really harmful advice. It's the whole Scientology thing too, right? About not believing in psychiatry. It's an anti-psychiatry movement, and it's not just with Scientology. It's out there. It's prevalent, and actually, Jonathan Staya talks about that in his book as well. The history of why it happened.
By the way, I guess I kind of wonder now. The homeopathy nonsense got started at a time when medical science in general was probably not worth bothering with.
They didn't know.
Yeah, yeah. To what extent is psychological science just so poor when L. Ron Hubbard was starting his thing that he might have been justified to some extent in saying that. Yeah.
Hi, Vincent. Nice to see you.
Hi, Vincent.
Bye.
Bye, Vincent.
Yeah. See everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Yeah, but that's a good point actually, because I think that was sort of the time when psychiatry there was some huge problems, right, in psychiatry at that time. And so that's a good point. I've never thought of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Lois, you have a hand up?
Well, yeah, it's okay. There is concern now in some areas that parents are using psychologists or therapists too much because, like, oh, if my kid isn't happy today, I've got to take him to a therapist. Mm-hmm. And there were, if you're not happy all the time, there's something wrong. Mm-hmm. And I'm worried that this will create a schism. I mean, therapy. I mean, I went to group therapy many years ago, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
And I came out thinking anybody can benefit by some therapy. But yet, now there's this thing where there's too much.
I think that there's always going to be a pendulum swing. But I think the majority of people are going to get, hopefully, the correct help. And that's going to be a minority of people who overthink. And, and hopefully the professional is going to say, this is all normal, right? That's up to the professional to say, this is normal and you're doing great. But hey, if things get worse, in fact, that was a big part of my kids' help, because by the time I got in to see the specialist, things were going pretty well. And the psychiatrist actually said to me, so why are you here right now? Because things are going well. So that question was asked of me. And I said, because things were really bad 6 months ago, and I'm afraid that that is going to happen again. And he said, perfect. That is a good answer. We will book you in for a year from now. If you need help before then, contact me.
Wow.
So that is not, that's what needs to happen, right? Is that has to come from the professionals. They need to be able to say, this is normal behavior. You're doing fine. And are there going to be grifters that take advantage? For sure. But that usually happens in the wellness industry, not with professional psychiatrists, professional, psychologists, hopefully, right? Unless they're getting into some of this woo stuff, then they will take advantage. So that's the check and balance there. So will parents be, parents have a tendency to be overly worried about their kids. I think it's a bit understandable. And I think that, I remember growing up, or when I was a young parent, there was sort of this whole thing about the jellyfish parent and then the helicopter parent and the one that didn't care and let their kids do whatever. And then the other ones that were worried about everything. So that's nothing new, if that makes sense. But I think it's always something to take into account. And I hope that the professionals handle it properly.
Okay, guys, let me show you the last few slides. And of course, we can continue talking after the slides, but just to finish this presentation here.
Oh, is this about the solstice?
Oh, no, yeah, it's the end of, it's just the slides ending the presentation. So if you want to contact Adrienne Hill, you can find her on zonegiggler.ca. And of course, she's a friend of ours. So eventually you can find her on WeCanReason 2026, I believe.
Yes.
You'll be there, right?
I wouldn't miss it.
Oh, please. Yes. So we won't have a webinar in December, because it would be weird. I think it's the 25th or 24th of December. So we'll skip this month. And then in January, we'll have our friend Burke talking about From Faith to Freedom, my journey from Turkey to Canada. He's a very interesting guy. He's been to several of our Skeptics in the Pub events, and I believe we're going to love his presentation. It will be on January 28th. The regular time of 7 p.m. Please help us spread the word. We have two websites, RockyMountainAtheist.ca and WeCanReason.com. We have all this social media here. If by some issue you can't show up as an atheist, WeCanReason is probably best for you, because we try to focus on WeCanReason mostly on science and critical thinking. So it's less atheistic, okay? Of course, you can find the buttons to donate and to be a member. It's just $20 per year. So consider being a member. And we have our Facebook group as well. It's been growing slowly but steadily. And we are always trying to post interesting things for our members. And of course, in both websites, you can subscribe to our emails. So you will receive our newsletter and our weekly digest. We don't send many emails, don't worry, it's just 2 per week. Unless it's the beginning of the month, then we have the newsletter and a few other things. And this month, we won't have the Skeptics in the Pub because we will have our winter solstice. It will be on Saturday, December 20th, 6 p.m. It will be at Rosedale Community Hall, 901 11th Avenue Northwest. It's very convenient. We used this place last year. It was fantastic. And hopefully this year will be even better. We will have a magician. We'll have lots of food. And yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to be
But
fun.
yeah. And if this is the last one, could you back up a bit? I'd just like to write down Adrienne's.
Oh, yes, here. Well, it will be on the video's description as well. All this info that I put here, it will be on our on the video description.
Zonegiggler.ca.
Yes. Okay, so now.
Yeah. Okay, before we close anything, I want Adrienne and Elio to tell about their meeting each other.
Oh, we met in Australia.
Yes,
Also
in a
about
roundabout way. It's really funny, isn't it?
Well, didn't he email you not knowing it was you or something?
Yeah, and we had talked before, but I didn't connect both the Adrians that were on the Skeptic Zone and the Adrienne from the emails. And eventually I reintroduced myself.
Yes.
After I heard her on the Skeptic Zone.
Reached out to me on LinkedIn, and Elio is not a standard name, right? It's not a common name, and your last name, and I was like, that looks really familiar. Why do I know this name? And it had been several months. And then what happened is I used to be in charge of the website for Rocky Mountain Atheists, and Elio is the one who took it over. And so he was contacting me with a couple questions, and I sent it off. And of course, he knows way more about websites than I ever would. And so, I handed off, never heard from him again. And then all of a sudden I get this LinkedIn thing saying, "Are you the Adrienne on the Skeptic Zone, but live in Calgary?" And I went, "Yes." And he said, "Oh, that's really cool. Well, I live in Calgary too. And, maybe we can get together." And I'm like, I know this name. And so I did a search, right? Like a search in my email. And sure enough, from months before came up this Elio. And I said, I think we've been talking. And so we had coffee, right? We had coffee.
Yeah, we have stories. The first time we scheduled a coffee, remember? We said, okay, let's have coffee in this new place close here where I live. We came there, it was closed.
Yep.
It only opens at noon. So come on, how can they
So we
have
had to
coffee?
find another place. And don't know each other. Okay,
wrong.
get in the car. Let's go. There was nothing else there.
Yeah, it was
I didn't mean to embarrass you, Elio. I just thought it was too good to pass up.
I love those kind of stories, though. It was really funny,
we always
right?
tell this story. I even told Richard, he couldn't believe it. Said, how come? Yeah, you introduced me to Adrienne, but I already knew her before.
Yes. Well, and even just like people say to me, well, how did you get on the Skeptic Zone? It's an Australian podcast, and it's a story on its own, right? It's just crazy. It's really because of the pandemic. And because of Susan Gerbic, who runs the Guerilla Skepticism on Wikipedia project that I am a part of. And when the pandemic hit, Susan decided to do a weekly trivia. And at this trivia, there were all kinds of people from the skeptical community who I had heard of, like Evan Bernstein came, Richard Saunders. And I mean, I knew these people, right? Ross Blotcher from Ono, Ross and Carey. And so there were all these people, Brian Dunning from Skeptoid. And I was kind of like, deer in headlights, here I am. and so Susan put me on Richard Saunders' team because she knew that I was a fan. And so we get to, we sort of got to know each other a little bit, but I'm still kind of nervous. And then he announced one day, I have this project that really I need help with. And with the pandemic, I can't get local people. We can't meet because we're in lockdown. So I thought I may as well just put it out there for anybody in the world. And he had gathered 20 years worth of psychic predictions from all media, so whether it be from TV, print, etc. And he had he has it all still, all archived. And we went through and he made this gigantic spreadsheet, wrote out them all or copy pasted, however he did it. I don't know, it took years, but he needed people to verify whether or not these psychic predictions came true. And so it was called the Great Australian Psychic Prediction Project. So every week for about 2 years, I was on that. And that's how I ended up essentially. Well, and he heard me do a talk on Tourette syndrome for Susan Gerbic. He interviewed me for the Zone about Tourette syndrome. Then he said, "Oh, Adrienne, can you do an ad for me? You and Susan." And okay. And then, "Oh, can you do this? Would you like your own segment called You Can Count on Adrienne?" I think we came up with the name together because of the math thing. And then he said, "Oh, would you like to read the newsletter every 2 weeks?" and then I met Kate or Kat. Yeah. It's just crazy, right? Like, I mean, how did this happen? And it was just basically working together on this Great Australian Psychic Prediction Project. He also asked me to write for the Australian Skeptic magazine about the project because I was sort of on, I wasn't the main runner of it, but I'm on the inside, just sort of looking in, if you know what I'm saying. It was such a wonderful experience. I actually cried the day we finished the last prediction because it was so much fun to get together with everybody every Tuesday. So that's how it all happened. It's kind of crazy.
It's neat how you can have these worldwide collaborations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for sure.
Only limitations possibly being language.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and through this, I mean, you talk about language. It's really interesting because I have friends from India, Abhijit Chanda, who I met at CSICon. I think, Lois, you met him there as well. Mm-hmm. And we've stayed connected. He started a podcast after that. I've been on his podcast several times. I've interviewed him for the Skeptic Zone several times. And if I ever go to India, I have a friend. It's really cool, right? It's so fun. And then there's a fellow named Andres Pinter, or Andras. Speaking of languages and me being bad at them. And he is from Hungary. And how do I get to know him? Was through Richard Saunders, because of being in the Skeptics community. Andras is part of the ESP podcast, which is the European Skeptics podcast. The real ESP. I love the name. Isn't it a great name? Yeah. And I really like that podcast. Anyway, he is a travel guide, and he comes to Calgary every year. Well, he and 40 people, and they go through the Rockies and they end up in Victoria, and then they fly home. And I think they actually visit Eastern Canada as well. Then they come to Calgary to go to the Rockies. And so we meet in Canmore every year, and we have dinner and we interview each other for each other's podcasts. So how cool is that? This international friendships, right? It's really, really fun.
Oh, if they don't just fly over Saskatchewan, I would recommend them driving into the Capel Valley.
Ooh, you should send a note to Andras. I can give you his information.
Adrienne, I'm sorry to cut you, but you have a tutoring now, don't you? I have an OCD with time.
Okay. I love it. Thank you, because my ADHD, I have no time sense at all.
Yeah. Okay. I guess.
Thank you very much. It was amazing.
Okay. I guess.
That was great.
Yeah.
Thank
now
you
that I've
nice
got
to see everybody.
Now that I've got your email, I can send a note to you about sending a note to this guy.
You bet. Exactly. Yeah. He's always looking for things. Thanks so much for having me,
guys.
Leo, and nice
Happy
to see you.
holidays.
Yeah. Wonderful to see you, Adrienne.
Yes. Nice to see you. And did you get my email, Lois?
Go away.
I'll
for
check.
Your birthday. Yeah, check.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Thank you.